Hey friends, it's Valentine's Day weekend, and I just finished being interviewed and chatting on a podcast. It's called 1,000 Espressos, and um, it was so much fun. It was this woman, Jane Taylor, and a gentleman named LJ. I don't know his last name. They have this podcast, and it has a monthly theme, and this one was connection. This month's is connection, and so Jane had seen this little ditty thing that I've been doing and invited me to come on and talk with them about my thoughts about connection, and it was super fun. And I'm kind of juiced up from it. Just thinking about connection and all the ways that we can be connected and all the ways that we can talk about connection, and it's got me thinking about disconnect and what it feels like to feel disconnected or to feel in disconnect with the self or with the community, and how yucky that feels, and how we find our way back, home to our hearts, and to like lift out of that disconnected place. And in this time, I feel like in the pandemic, in the world, with so much happening related to racial tension and political tension, and there is a lot of disconnect going on. And today I just felt the promise of the energy that exists in the possibility of connection. Like when you have a moment where you feel connected to somebody else or to something else, it's almost like there's a mini combustion somewhere, right? Like you feel it. It's an inspiration inside. And when you're in disconnect, it's almost like you can't access that, or there's just no fires. Look at that. There we go. Let's mat that down a little bit. And so what's the roadmap, from disconnect to connection? How do we to find our way into that juicy place of uplift and inspiration again when we're there? And one way that I find that I can do that is through finding sameness, finding connection through shared experience. And so, if I'm suffering, then understanding there's other suffering in the world, that because of, being a 46-year-old white woman in America that has some sense of financial security, my suffering is so relative, right, to the rest of the world. And so it's easy for me to think about, if I'm feeling like I'm in my own suffering, that there are other people who are suffering too, and that there's a place where we together are not alone. That sounds a little ridiculous, but I think, what am I trying to say? Our relatability, our ability to relate to one another and one another's experience, I think, is a key to finding our way through that door, coming out of funk and into connection or inspiration. And so for me, that's when I'm down, when I'm in disconnect, when I'm one route that I have to the light is around a shared experience with others, something that I can find that brings me a sense of togetherness and unity. And from there, I can find my way, back to breathing. So this isn't meant to be a commentary on finding your way to the light, but I'm interested in how do people find their way back, right? Like how do you bring yourself out of the funk? Like what is the thing, that brings you out of the funk? And maybe it's spontaneous connection. Maybe it's running across something or into something that is accidental but uplifting, catches us by surprise and kind of rips the funk off, and shows us the light. And maybe it's our tendency to recover and reshroud ourselves, or maybe we're in a moment where we can appreciate the light and leave that layer off and breathe a little more freely. Anyway, so I don't know, it's an invitation to think about how connected do you feel to your body, to your heart and your mind and your sense of your own values and well-being. How connected do you feel to others in your immediate circle or in your community, in your country, in your life, in your sense of humanness? Where does your sense of connection kind of feel strong, and where does it feel weak? Where are you alive and fluid in a sense of connection, and where is there some fog or thickness or inability to sense or experience connection? And what are the ways that we can pass through that disconnect to, touch what's on the other side again and come alive in that like magical spark that happens when we feel connected, when we experience connection. Anyway, it's been a fun day thinking about connection, thinking about all the ways in which that concept feeds my life and informs my life, and thinking about it and talking about it was really, really rich. So I encourage you to think about it for yourself. And if you're feeling disconnected in a place where it makes you sad to recognize that disconnect, brainstorm some ways. What are the ways that you can find your way through that? I'm inspired. I know there are a few places where I feel a little disconnected. Really, because of the pandemic, I've been feeling more like I just want to be with people, and I don't want to talk on the phone or be connected in any other way. I just want to be with them, and until I can do that, I just want to peace. See ya when we can see ya, But maybe there's a place where I can try to find my way into connection with those beloveds, and maybe that would be really good for me, for all of us. I don't know. So yeah, as an invitation to open the heart a bit, feel what is, and see where you can maybe free up and open up and light up and shine and share a little more. Happy Valentine's weekend, and love yourself first and foremost. Peace.